Welcome to the MFS Wellness Podcast, a hybrid structure encompassing health, fitness, self-improvement, and entertainment, where no topic is off limits and all opinions are graciously welcomed.
Let's get on with the show!
And now, here's the host of the show, Mike Sinopoli.
Welcome to the MFS Wellness Podcast. I am Mike Sinopoli, certified nutrition coach, consultant, counselor. Call me whatever you would like. On this episode, I am going to discuss two subjects that from the minute we're born to the day that we die, we are going to be concerned with at some level, or someone will be concerned for us about it at some level. That's health and wealth. Obviously, you've heard me talk a lot here about health. That's pretty much what this podcast has been about for the most part. But not too much about wealth. The reason I don't talk too much about wealth is that I'm not a financial expert by any means. I do have some understanding of what is needed and to have a long-term savings plan for retirement through investing. I have an idea exactly of what it takes to get to that point, what's necessary, whether I'm following it myself or not. It's documented out there. It's very boring. It's not exciting. Just like fat loss can be, or establishing that physique. It's not exciting all the time to do it. It's repetitive. A lot of it's going to end up being repetitive. And that's kind of slow and steady is the way to go. That's just the boring ass way to put it. And that's all I can say. So I'm not a financial expert. There's no way in this podcast am I going to give you a bunch of stock tips that you can go invest in and buy a bunch of shares and be a millionaire by next week. Much like I'm going to tell you that there's no diet plan or workout plan that's going to make you look like a bodybuilder next week. It just doesn't work like that. So that's like the first comparison of the two, that there's just really no quick fix whatsoever. And, we don't really learn it in the school system, either one, properly, in my opinion. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying school is bad or anything like that or negative. It's just different. It gives kids, the youth, like the foundational things that they need to know as they age. It helps them socialize. They learn the core studies that they're doing. That's what it's for, especially the K through 8. And then you get into high school, maybe you can grab an elective in finance, and then throughout college and you can really take that direction yourself and learn about it. I'm sure, through the universities. But overall, we are not given the proper understanding of health nor wealth through the school system as a standard, as something that's required. It's not a requirement. And I think there's reasons why. And I'm not going to get too far into that. But either way, sustainability is everything. And there is no sustainable quick method for either of these. So when you think about when you're dieting, okay? So when you're dieting and you're trying to lose fat, you want to lose a slow, methodical 1 to 2 pounds a week. You don't want to go extreme and go crazy, because it's going to come back to bite you in the ass when you've done something so restrictive that you bounce back and find yourself in a worse position. Much like when it comes to wealth and you're sort of trying to make all these moves and do everything that you want to do that's just not going to come back to pay off for you, because you're trying to get rich quick and you're trying to do it fast. And those are the types of things that are high risk and low probability of happening. That's kind of the same way for both. There's going to be people who prey on you for both of these types of things. If you think about it, there's always going to be that scammer who wants to take your money and invest it and put it somewhere and do some pyramid scheme and guarantee you all this bullshit that you're going to get rich next week. It's been the oldest play in the book, is promising people quick wealth. And on the other side of things, you see it all the time still, promising quick health, quick results, shakes, pills, supplements, diet programs, it works crap. Some bogus shit that's going to say, all you got to do is wrap this around your waist and you're going to look like a supermodel by Tuesday. And, you got to just be able to spot the bullshit. That's kind of both. For health and wealth, spot the bullshit. That's what you want to learn first and foremost. And that leads me to the next point, is that you got to acquire the right knowledge to do either one and know who you're listening to. When it comes to health, who do you listen to? There's so much conflicting information. Most people will say they listen to the doctors. Listen to a doctor. I don't necessarily believe that your long-term diet ideas with most doctors. Dietitians may be different, and nutritionists as well. But primary care doctors and other doctors, just because they have the name, the moniker, the doctor, the PhD next to their name, it doesn't necessarily mean that they know everything about how to create a sustainable way to live at a healthy body weight. And you know what? Some of them aren't supposed to. For instance, if you're a surgeon, like, I don't need a surgeon to tell me how to count macros and how to create a calorie deficit. I don't want the surgeon to know that. I want a surgeon to know everything they need to know about operating on a specific organ in the human body. That's what I want them to know. I don't care if they don't know. So if you go to a surgeon and they're like, oh, they're a doctor, I ask them about health, what I should eat and this and that. If they don't know, don't go and say, well, fuck these doctors, they don't care about nothing. No, this person needs to be specialized right in to surgery and what they're doing. That's what we want them to know. That's what the point is. Look, the doctors are there kind of if you get sick, and everyone's going to get sick no matter how much you do this. You're going to get sick at some point in your life, I'm sure. Everyone's going to have something. Western medicine, I know it's abused right now, but it's necessary. It's all good. And that's the thing with doctors. You can listen to them to an extent. I'm not speaking for all of them, but not all doctors do know exactly the right way to do this, because there's a lot more to it than just eat this and eat that and that's it for long term. Excuse me. So same thing with wealth. You got to know who you're talking to. If you're talking to somebody that's got benefit for themselves in it, they might not have your best interests in mind. They might be just trying to earn a quick buck and get you to sign up for some program, or you've been bugged by New York Life or one of these other places for this whole term insurance and how it's going to pay off and these other it's just, you got to make sure you know who you're talking to and trust somebody. I can't give you any advice on that because I just sort of do my own thing. But the crypto bros and the people that are guaranteeing you shit on the internet from Instagram, stay away from that. Just like the people selling you the supplements, they're all out for their own profit. So you got to be aware of that. Probably the most important is patience and consistency for both of these. So when you think about it, health, it's slow and methodical for fat loss, muscle building, lowering your blood sugar, your blood pressure. You're going to need to do things. You're not going to be able to switch it off overnight. It's going to be small changes, habitual changes, I should say, over time. That's going to help you lower all those things, build your muscle, and then just rehaul yourself overnight. Not going to happen overnight. So same thing with wealth. You're investing in long term. You don't want to be a day trader. You're not. If you want, some people have success with that. That's fine, but most people don't have the stomach for it, nor the funds to do day trading properly. So I just do long term investing into the S&P 500. Consistently fund it, just like you have to consistently fund your body with food, with work, with mobility. You got to consistently fund your accounts they're going to grow, because compound interest, as it grows, you need to be putting something somewhere. You can't just take $1,000, throw it into a stock, and say I'm going to be rich in 30 years, because you're probably not. You need to be consistently feeding that account so that the compounding interest, and as it goes within the market, keeps growing as you age, and that's how you build that long-term wealth. Now, there's another way to do that. If you're more of the business-minded person, you want to earn passive income. So you want, and I kind of associate this with the human body a little bit. This is kind of a weird analogy, but hopefully it'll make sense to you. So I want to talk about like a business owner, right? So when I was reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad and Cash Flow Quadrant, both by Robert Kiyosaki, great books. His way of establishing wealth is through real estate and buying properties and having somebody manage those properties. And he does nothing but collect checks after he's paid everything off, paid off the property managers. He just collects the overhead, what comes back. He collects everything else. And he sits at home and collects the checks. That is called true passive income, because he's not doing any work and it's all just filtering into him. It's working. People are working for him. That's sort of the business person's mindset. So if you see somebody who's sitting in a cubicle doing clerical work, making $35K a year, bitching and moaning because the CEO and the owner of the company on a Friday afternoon is out there golfing, well, if they're saying, well, that guy's not doing shit, he's lazy, look at him out there golfing, what an asshole, blah, blah, blah. You know what? You're just exposing yourself as on the wrong side of wealth, because you know what that person has done is created a business that's going to operate while he's away or she's away, and he can play golf, she can go to the show, do whatever they want to do while that company is creating wealth for them and money. Those are assets. It's an asset. The company's become an asset to them. They gain from that. So that's the way to go. So when you're sitting there complaining about it, it's just you're on the wrong side of this shit. And you need to either do it yourself, put up the risk and the work to create your own and create your own passive income, or you need to shut up and just know your role and sort of work as an employee. And that's just what it is. That's it. So the way it kind of correlates to me to the human body is this, and it comes down to muscle building, something that so many women especially like to neglect, but men too, and they want to lose fat and everything. But so if you think about this, muscle tissue is responsible for higher fat burn in the body and a better metabolism. So when you think about building muscle, you want to think about that as creating something within you that's going to do the work for you. Now, if you can build muscle to where your body is burning off an extra 250 calories a day, as opposed to you going on the treadmill trying to burn 250 calories on a counter that's probably not accurate at all, that's kind of like creating your own personal employees within your body to burn fat for you. Obviously, you have to still do some work on your end. It's not exactly the same. But I'm just saying, think about your muscle mass as something in you that's, A, not only going to shape you, make you stronger, but also is going to do some work for you while you're just sitting there. You go strength train, you have a good meal, you go sit on the couch for a little bit. You know, that muscle mass is going to help you burn that body fat off and help keep you at a good place in your body composition wise. So think of it that way when you think about muscle building, and it's not important. It is very important. The preservation of it is just as important too. A lot of another bullet point, fear. You know, we got a lot of people throw health and wealth as the main driver of fear. Nobody wants to lose their health, number one, and be sick, and nobody wants to lose their money either. So there are two common drivers of fear that whether it's the government, the media, a corporation, a friend, another person, a salesperson, whoever it is, they might use a little bit of fear in the realm of health, wealth, and throw it at you a bit and sort of say, hey, this is, because that's the two biggest entities that we focus on in our lives, our health and our wealth, bottom line. So they're going to use that to persuade you to make a profit for them. So you got to also just understand where that's coming from. And you can't quit early on either one of these. So this is lifelong. You can't just stop investing at some point, especially when you're younger. And you can't just stop working out because your body's going to go to shit, as is your bank account. You have to keep funding that thing, or else once you get to a certain age, you're going to be fucked. There's no guarantee. There's a little more guarantee maybe with your wealth, especially with certain accounts that are safer. Like I'd mentioned, the S&P 500, the index fund. I think that's a great one. Other IRAs and mutual funds and such are great. And you got to just kind of have the long term in mind for both. Don't quit early, because if you quit early, quitting early is so easy with your diet. You just this isn't working because you're probably doing the wrong way. Now, when you're investing, you know, that's like, oh, I need money for this and that and this, and that's fine. And I get things are expensive and life's expensive, but to try to just put something away every week, month, or whenever you can, that's what's going to be most beneficial, so that you can retire one day and not have to be succumb to some asshole. My father taught me a term, and it was one of the most important ones I've ever learned in my life. It was called "fuck you money." And what "fuck you money" is having enough money stored away in the bank, liquid money too, not just money that's going to be sitting there until you're 59 and a half in an IRA and you can't touch it till then. Money to where you have it saved up to where you have X amount of dollars available to support yourself, so you can tell a shitty boss, fuck you, and be on your way. You don't have to feel trapped in that job. And I think that when you start looking at money as a source of freedom, you can start looking at health as a source of freedom. You're not free with bad health. If you're stuck to a drug or a pill, that's a prison in a way. You're stuck with that. You want to be off of the drugs. You don't want to be on drugs if you can avoid it. Same thing goes on the other end. You know, when you have health as such a, I don't know how to say this, over time, you don't have a guarantee with health, but with wealth, you kind of can guarantee your path for retirement. That's sort of what I'm getting at. But it's easier to say fuck you to the health in so many ways, because you see somebody get sick and whatever, you thought they were a healthy person. I wouldn't base it on that. I would keep trying. and striving for that. But you want to be off the meds as much as you can, and you want to keep yourself going as much as you can. For both things. Even if it's small, that's the thing. Even small amounts are beneficial for both of these. So if you're thinking, oh, I only invested $10 this month, or I only invested $50 this month, fine. That's better than zero. Same thing goes for your health, or you're trying to manage some things. I only hit my calorie target, I don't know, 5 of the 7 days. Well, it's better than none. So any step in the right direction is good. So, to build wealth over time, you have to follow 3 simple steps. It's make money, save money, and invest money. So school gets you to the point to make money. It helps you get a job, a career, and sets you on that path to make the money. Where it falls short is what to do after that. That's save the money, which is something people do. They throw it in a savings account, or maybe a checking and savings account, and they transfer things back and forth. But the missing piece is the investing the money. That's where it goes into the market, and you can see it grow exponentially from there. And that's where you truly create the long-term wealth. And the earlier that started, the better it is. Kind of like focusing on your health. The earlier that you start, the better off chances you have for living longer, and then for retiring earlier on the other end. And for health, the similarity to making money would be to learn what to do, kind of know what works for you, what it is, how to train for what you're going for, how to diet for what you want to do. All that. So you have to learn what to do. And then saving the money is to do the work. Okay. You got to implement it. You got to do something with it. Once you've got the knowledge, you've attained the knowledge, now you got to do something with it. And from there, you're going to go ahead and implement what you've learned. And then around all that and the investments is the mindset changes, the habitual changes, the behavioral changes. All of that are the long-term, almost close to guarantees that you're going to not revert back to where you were. So that's sort of how they kind of can go hand in hand, in my opinion, that they're both methodical. They could be boring. The quick way is usually never the right way. There's always probably an outlier you can pull out of your ass, but it's not the norm. The fast way is a pipe dream. Slow, steady, boring, methodical, planned, and understood. That's just the way that is. So get rid of the I'm going to look like a supermodel or a bodybuilder by next week. Get rid of the I'm going to be a billionaire by next week. You can buy all the lottery tickets you want. Prove me wrong. Go for it. I'd love to hear it, and I hope you do win. But, odds are, and then that kind of goes back. Lottery tickets, right? What do they say happens to lottery winners? Lottery winners, what? They have their millions, and many of them end up going broke because they don't know what to do with their money. You can make all the money in the world, but if you don't know what to do with it, it doesn't matter. It's going to go to somebody else, and you're going to create so much nonsensical debt for yourself. And that's really what, if you think fat gain, and debt. So if you gain a bunch of fat, it's like being in debt. And you got to get rid of this fat. You got to get rid of the debt. And that's it. You're trying to claw your way back to zero, to baseline, to a healthy body composition. Don't let that discourage you. It's just where you might be. And you're doing some things along the way. This isn't exactly a linear comparison, so don't let something wealth-wise kind of deter you from the health-wise or vice versa. So that's it. If you want to read something, I don't have much for you on the wealth side, but Robert Kiyosaki, he's got 2 great books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, love that one, and Cash Flow Quadrant is also a very good, underrated book by the same author. I actually might have liked that one a little bit more than Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That one gets the most attention out there. Is a very highly regarded book for finances and investing. But with Cash Flow Quadrant, what he does is he takes who you are, you kind of assess who you are as a person, and you're placed into 4 different quadrants based on your preferences in your life and what you can do and where you fall. One of them is they're labeled E, S, B, and I. E is employee. S is self-employed. B is business owner, and I is investor. An employee is what you think it is. It's somebody who works at a company, takes in a paycheck, does what they need to do with it, goes about their day. Self-employed is somebody who works for themselves, but actually does the work themselves. That would be like, a doctor that has their own practice. They're self-employed. They're working. It can be a lawyer. They're self-employed to work for themselves, but they're still doing work. I consider myself an S. I'm self-employed. I do my own thing. I don't want to work for anybody, and I really personally don't want anyone to work for me at this point. And that's sort of the E and the S's can struggle a little bit where I'm at as far as getting wealthy and getting very rich. Sometimes it's more difficult to obtain that great wealth as an E employee or as self-employed. Again, he calls it out in the book. It's a gray area, but the B and the I, those sides, which is business owner and investor, those are where those are the wealth quadrants. So business owners is what I talked about before. It's that owner. He owns several maybe stores or whatever it is, but he or she is not necessarily active in the day to day. They're just sort of they put the money out. They created the company. They're trying to get to that point of earning the passive income from this company. And investors are those who will just basically hand money maybe to a business owner and like this idea, and they earn based on putting their money down and having faith in the business owner to be successful. So that was an interesting book to kind of figure out where you land in there. I'd love to see myself on the B or the I side at some point, but I just don't know if it's for me necessarily. I do like where I'm at. But you got to read the book to figure out yourself. Same thing goes kind of for health. I don't know if they should do a health book like that on what works for you. But I mean, it's so individualized that for health and working out, there's so many different facets of that I don't think it will translate. But again, to close this thing up, if you're going the methodical, boring route, slowly making losses, slowly gaining on your portfolio, and seeing it move with the market, continually funding it, continually going with your diet the right way and your training program correctly, that's the way to go. Slow and boring. Unfortunately, I'd love to give you some excitement on this one, but that's really what it is. So if you have any questions on what process you'd like to take for your health, your body composition, you where to find me. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter at MFS Wellness. And then you can email me as well, mike@mfswellness.com. If you want to shoot the shit about some financial shit and some things, I'd love to talk about that and learn. Maybe I can help you out too with that. But again, that would just be a casual discussion. I don't do anything professionally, financially. So I appreciate anyone who listens. I hope that this correlation between these two came off as something you can understand a little bit. It could be reaching a little. I understand that too. But again, thank you so much for listening. And until we come back with another episode, we will see you and talk to you then.